we live in a time where identity politics is in many ways the sum of current events. Identity politics in many ways is how individuals assess themselves. It is also how individuals assess one another. This idea that who you are as regards your heritage, as regards your national heritage, your ethnic heritage, is the sum of your character. It is very deterministic because it suggests that nature has decided for you who you are. That the genetic hand that you were dealt is the sum of your identity, and we assign value to this. And yet identity politics is nothing new. It's done the rounds in history. You need not look back too far to even find in the 1900s and in the 1800s. Marxism really uses the notion of class warfare as a foundational precept in its defense of its ideas. Marxism seeks to suggest that individuals are the sum of their economic position in society. That therein is this idea of class warfare, pitting, if you will. Marxism pits classes against one another in society. The eugenics movement, really the beginning of the 19th century, really dug itself in. The American Eugenics Society in the 1910s, 1920s, really purported this, what seemed to be a scientific assessment, a scientific, if you will, a scientific a scientific declaration to suggest that genetics can describe poverty, genetics can describe success, genetics can describe crime. That the problems of society can be explained by understanding the genetic ground on which people are born. And the eugenics movement, made great inroads in academia and in politics, and its advocates were zealous to spread their ideas, and these were the accepted science of the day. And it spread to 1920s Germany, and certain political groups in Germany found in eugenics a kind of justification to give merit to their dissatisfaction with the outcome of World War I. They found in eugenics a way of explaining what was wrong with society. So, identity politics, man, has done the rounds. And here we are in 2019, man, and identity politics is doing the rounds. Identity politics purports that one is, as I said, the sum of one's nature. It is a deterministic assessment of one's position in life. I cannot help but be what nature has assigned for me. My identity, my sexual identity is born of a nature that I cannot control. My desires, my wanton desires ride upon things that are beyond my control. This is kind of the idea that is deterministic. That the idea that your identity is determined, is set in stone, man, is baked in. In the Old Testament, there were a people that were baked in, if you will. They were called lepers. Society understood them to be unclean because indeed they wore as baggage the plague of leprosy on their bodies. It was as though their skin died on them, and yet they lived and they wore it. It was a horrible disease. But people didn't understand it, and so lepers were just seen as unclean, and people didn't touch them. People kept them at bay. They were put out of the city to live outside of the city. Here in this passage in the book of Mark, chapter 1, verse 40, a leper came to Jesus, beseeching him and kneeling, and said to him, If you will, you can make me clean. So this leper, imagine the profoundness that this leper is able to see past the identity that has been assigned to him by society, by his circumstance, seemingly by nature itself. Can a leper change its spots? Can a man change the color of his skin? And yet this leper, seen past his identity and saw in Christ the potential to begin again, to begin anew. And he said, kneeling before him, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And it says that Jesus had compassion on him. Jesus was moved with compassion. Moved with pity, he stretched out his hand. And this, how significant is that? This leper that is kept that society has set at bay. That society has decided that this individual, that the identity of this individual is unclean. The nature of this individual is unclean. And so this individual is set apart. And it could be that this individual, this leper, had not been touched by another human for most of his adult life. Had not really been touched by people, and Jesus reached out and touched him, connected with him, and touched him, and Jesus said, yeah, I'm willing. Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him and said to him, I will be clean. And immediately the leprosy left him, and he was made clean. The point here that I'm wanting to make is that we are not the sum of some identity that society has assigned to us, whatever we've been taught in school. No doubt we wear the wounds of our experiences. We wear the wounds of our actions, our choices, the things that we do in life. We wear it. But in Christ, we don't have to be defined by it. In Christ, you can begin again. This leper, imagine how profound it was. This person who wore disease as a garment, wore it. His skin rotting on his body. And how society looked at him, defined him, ID'd him, tagged him. And he found that in Christ he could begin again. And indeed he was, man. He was made clean. And it says, and the leprosy left him, and he was made clean. And that prison That ideology of identity was put off from him. Right, man. God bless, guys. Take care. Hope you enjoyed that.